Screaming from the rooftops, deep down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood don't splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter. The music will make you dumb, the media makes you hate, and they control them both. There ain't no escape. They put the world in a state of chaos. Economy crashing and massive layoffs. Black against white or it's left versus right. Divide and conquer and control us to pay off. Screaming from the rooftops, deep down better. Turn us on each other now, no lives matter. If we do what the news wants, blood don't splatter. Turn us on each other till no lives matter.
All right. That guy just biked by, he grabbed his nipples and then smiled at me. Good for him. This is what your children are going to grow up in. Hope we're going to have a good time. But we're going to have a good time here. I know that much. How you doing?
What are you doing?
Oh, just, you know, hanging out, watching people pass by.
Yeah?
How about you?
I saw over a bike ride and I saw you were doing something.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Can I ask you about it?
Sure, yeah, what would you like to ask?
I don't know, I didn't even see your sign.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, what are you doing?
Has it ever crossed your mind that Earth doesn't spin? It's just stationary. It doesn't spin. And the sun moves around it.
I mean, I learned about like the geocentric model of the universe at some point. So I guess, but not beyond that, no.
Okay. But I think that the Earth is flat like this table, and it goes on infinitely forever in all directions, and there's no underside to it.
Okay.
What about that? And then the sun still goes around us, but we're stationary, because you can't move an infinitely plane, you know? You can't move that.
When you say there's nothing on the underside, do you mean like it's undeveloped, or like it's nothing?
No, I mean like it goes infinitely down and infinitely across horizontally in all directions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think this stuff is? What's this stuff made of underneath? If you know, I don't know.
I mean, lava or something. I mean, some people would say hell.
Sure. Would you say that?
I might. Yeah.
Cool.
There might be a place like that, but the way I'm seeing things, it looks like we're in hell right now. So.
Oh, why do you say that?
Well, I just see people not showing their face and wearing masks and putting experimental drugs in their body and things like that.
Sure.
So it kind of seems a bit odd that we would just, you know, humans would just give themselves over to authority after they just created a problem.
Why do you think they would do that?
Well, separation maybe of DNA.
No, why do you think people would submit themselves?
Their fear, afraid.
Yeah.
Afraid of death.
Oh, interesting, fear of death.
Yeah. They want to feel like they've done something. Most people haven't done anything their whole life. Now they get to save the world by getting a jab.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty low bar for entry.
Pretty easy, you know, standard, you know, I guess if you want to be a hero. But for me, you know, that's nothing. I mean, I've been sick on my deathbed before, you know, and I've helped people in various other ways and things like that. And I wouldn't feel like my life is meant nothing up until this point where I can finally do something like that. What do you think is the reason behind people? Yeah.
Well, so okay, I'll say a couple things. One, yeah, obviously there's a fear of death. If there wasn't, there would be no medical industry whatsoever, right? People obviously put themselves through pretty unpleasant. I mean, for this one's like it's just a jab, right? But I mean, like chemotherapy is awful, right? There are plenty of like really awful medical procedures that people are willing to endure for the sake of like longevity. So there's definitely a pressure to live. This also comes from, yeah, we generally like we generally ideologically support the idea that life is always good and should be maximized and preserved and extended. So I think that's part of that. Maybe I could say that I think there are a few other reasons why people would subject themselves to this. I think another one is, you know, a lot of people, I think especially younger people, who maybe don't from what they're told, they're not inherently at risk of COVID virus, right? So why would they go through the process, right? Well, so I think maybe partly, if you're also told it will help others who are more at risk, then I do think there's an element of altruism. And you could even say there's like a social pressure to be altruistic, but it is somehow altruistic. So I think there's that. Also, even psychologically, you know, people have been pretty like locked up and have had their lives affected by this pandemic for a year and a half, and if somebody shows up and is like, hey, there's an option for some progress, yeah, maybe you would take it just to like feel like some sense of agency and restoring a sense of normalcy.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in timeout for 6 months, a year, 18 months, and mom and dad come and say, okay, Josh, if you do this or that, we'll get you out of timeout.
Yeah.
And it's like, but mom, that kind of goes against like my ideals, you know, or like some sort of moral compass that's in my heart that's saying, I don't know, but then the fear of not being able to provide for yourself or your family or whatever because you lose your job, or the intimidation of losing friends or family, maybe the peer pressure of that is too much for somebody to really quantify, I guess, in the future. Because you can't fast track long-term studies, you know. So I think that is another thing that I've developed as coming out here to the lake, that most people, it's even just to say 51%, say it's not actually about science, it's about other people. I did it for my grandma so I could see her in the nursing home, or I wanted to do the right thing. It's not really actually about, well, let's read my two favorite ingredients is what's in the Pfizer vaccine.
What are the two favorite ingredients?
Well, I'm just saying, I never get that, right? I mean, we go to the grocery store, and what do we do first, right? Eyes check to see if there's any gelatin or any pork in this product. And if there's not, okay, I'll consider it. And then I'll move to the next qualifiers, you know.
Do you look for pork products?
I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't want to eat it.
No, I mean, I was just asking.
Yeah, I look for it. Yeah.
Why specifically pork?
Because it's just not good for you to eat pork.
Cool. How long have you been doing this before?
Well, I did Flat Earth before COVID, and I was doing Flat Earth since 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, so 3 years, so 4 years of Flat Earth, and then now this, so.
Do you usually come to this park?
Yeah, I usually go to Lake Harriet, Calhoun, and then I'll just hang out with some friends, and we'll stand up at a stadium or something, and obviously not bring the table and stuff, but, yeah. Try to challenge people about things like that.
I always appreciate people broadcasting their ideas,
Yeah.
especially if they don't align with the mainstream.
Yeah, thanks. So, what would your two favorite proofs of the Earth being a globe be?
What were my favorite... Well, hold on, what are your two favorite proofs of the Earth being flat?
Oh, okay.
You're
So
the one to
I'll answer so you can think about it.
No, just because you brought up the topic, I'll put it this way. You obviously thought a lot about this, right?
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 4 years.
Yeah.
I've obviously thought very little about this.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you would like share more, because you probably have more knowledge.
So you're concerned about maybe your answers when you want, like, what do you expect me to think of your answers then? Do you think I would judge you? That's why I asked you, what are your two favorite proofs?
I'd be more
Because you believe this more than you would trust Flat Earth then, right?
No, I just asked because I'm more interested in learning from an alternate perspective than hearing myself talk.
Yeah.
Right, and you already have a position, and I don't meet a lot of people with your position.
Sure.
So I would just rather spend my time listening to your viewpoints than my viewpoints.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, I mean, I can answer your question.
Yeah, okay.
What was my favorite evidence for the
Yeah,
globe?
what's your favorite proof that you're just like, it's definitely, probably a ball.
Okay, it just seems like a rhetorical device. Might as well just listen to it. But I'll go through the motions. My favorite proof for the globe. I would say maybe. Give me a second. One I will say is an appeal to authority, right?
Okay, fair enough.
Like as like a, what do they call it, heuristic, right? Like that works sometimes. Yeah, so I'll give you that one. And then, so okay, you already rebutted the rotation of the Earth, although I guess you brought it up, so it wasn't really a rebuttal. But okay, so there's that one's off the table. Movement of the stars.
Okay.
What about that one? Or
Yeah.
is that maybe unless the flat Earth is spinning, I guess it would do
No,
the same?
stationary.
Okay, well then you'll...
Firm and immovable. For me, it would be when water is contained, it lays level and flat.
Sure.
You know, so I hold this bottle, and I know when the bottle is level because the water inside is what I use to level, right?
Right, yeah.
So that I know. And so when water is at rest, you know, and it's not moving, it's not curved. So let's just get that out of here, right? It's just a way for people to think of a way to say, well, water does curve because there's waves. And it's like, when it's at rest, like Bruce Lee says, you know, be like water.
Okay.
So just chillax,
Sure.
right? And then it's literally like a mirror, right? When
Sure.
water is at rest.
Makes sense.
If you go up to a lake, you know, and it's a small contained lake and there's no wind, it's literally like a mirror,
Right.
you know. And so I find it hard to think that billions and trillions of that, gallons wise, in front of me looks like a mirror, but then all of a sudden it starts to do this, you know, and makes a ball.
Wait, why does that not make sense?
Well, because my second proof that Earth is flat would be when the sun travels further away from us.
Right.
In my opinion, Earth is flat like this table. So
Okay.
we're here in America. All the sun is doing is just traveling further away from us.
And then it comes back.
Well, just hold on.
Okay, sorry.
So all it's doing is traveling further away from us.
Okay.
And you can do this on a flat surface at Home Depot or a reflective surface. Use the lights, get on the ground, and you can see that light source come all the way up to you because it can't do that if Earth is a ball. So the sun is traveling further away from us.
So we're stationary.
We're stationary, we're on the beach
And the sun
in
is
California,
Okay, right.
and the sun is traveling away from us.
Okay.
The sun's ray comes all the way up to your feet and all the way up to my feet because we have our own perspective of the sun.
Right.
Like I can't steal your sunshine. And it comes all the way up to your feet.
Okay.
It wouldn't come up to all the way to your feet. It would only come up halfway if the Earth was a ball.
Halfway to...
And you would see it come halfway up to your visual because the sun would then be on a curved surface and it can only come up so far. So the sun's ray would actually stop probably just before the horizon.
I'm trying to follow. Sun's rays would stop just...
And they
What do
would
you mean
not
the
come
sun's
up to your feet.
What do you mean this? Like, right, you're saying like right now, like the sun can hit my feet.
Yeah, if you go to the shoreline when it's
Right.
low on the horizon, when it's
So-
at its lowest point, yeah, it'll
But you're
come all
saying
the way
if
up to your
the
feet.
Earth were round, it wouldn't touch my feet.
The sun would not come to the shoreline because of the curved surface.
You know, you're saying like the what do you call it? Like the tangent would be.
Yeah, it has to be a ball, right? I mean, they've measured it. Government God has measured it, and this is their curvature formula that you need. 10 miles away, you need 66 feet of curvature over a body of water.
Is there any way I can take pictures of
Of course you can, yeah, do it.
Doing like people are doing good things in this
Oh,
world.
okay, sure.
Are
Hey,
you
thanks.
sure?
Yeah, no
I
worries.
won't, unless you want to be in it.
Oh, no. I mean, it's up to you.
No, it's up to you. If you agree, I'd
Oh,
rather,
yeah.
I'd rather have a human in
Oh,
it.
sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to hold the globe or something? I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
You
you're
did
good.
it too.
I know, I really don't. I'm not
It's gonna
affiliated.
go viral.
It's
I can,
okay.
yeah,
I'd rather not go viral.
I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
no
think
pun,
so.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Smile. Nice. I'll just take this.
What else is in your collection?
Well, I'm just starting, but I did get two police officers in their police car at Hennepin and Lake, parked up next to them. I opened the window, I turned on Stevie Wonder, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours, and they started jamming. So I'm like, that's great PR for you.
Yeah.
There are happy people in this world. But anyway, I am very new. Plus, I have to worry about, people being in the pictures. People could sue me. I'm doing a lot with lawyers.
That's actually not true in Minnesota.
What?
I don't need anybody's consent to video or take a picture of somebody
Really?
out in public. This is a one consent state.
Okay, well that's good to
So
know.
just-
It's unfortunate though because I have, my son was taken from me 2 years ago by cops, judges, lawyers. I've been everywhere. Everyone hates my guts, which I love that.
Okay, yeah, fair, yeah.
But so anyway, so I'm scared shitless. They'll
Okay.
figure out a way to sue me. But I am so glad to know that.
Yeah.
So how do I know that? Where do I go
It's
look?
statute 606.02.
No, way.
Yeah, I have to know because I do this and I record. So, I mean, people come up to my table. You can't record me without your permission. And I'm like, show me the law.
Yes.
So-
Oh God, picking up coffee. Are you here a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Karen.
Yeah, okay.
What's your name?
Joshua.
Joshua. What's your name? Gabriel.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Okay, see you, Karen.
I figured you were videotaping, so I was off in the corner.
Oh, yeah, no, that's...
I'm just camera shy.
Yeah, at least you notice it. A lot of people have a 10-minute conversation with me, realize that they don't agree with me, and then they see the camera and they're like, "Are you recording me?" And I'm like,
Got it.
uh...
I just don't like having anything posted on
You know,
me.
but yeah,
So
I hear you.
I avoid cameras in general.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
sorry, so
so...
you were saying.
Yeah, so
So that makes sense. Okay.
this has been, you can do this scientifically, if you want to call it that, where you can get a flat surface, use scale, put a light source over it, and then have a curved surface, and you'll see that the light isn't capable of reaching the very end of that page or the border of which you want to use.
Sure.
So,
Weird request. You can obviously say no. I'd like to look at your table, but I don't want to be in the video.
yeah, sure. I can
Just like turn aside.
yeah, I mean, I can put it on me. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
on
just
me.
wanted to look. I just. Okay.
No worries.
As if you like zoom in on my nipples.
Well,
Betray my
actually,
trust.
funny that you mentioned it. Some Zoomer came by and he had his shirt off and he did one of these as he rode by and smiled. And like, I guess that's what we get when we live out in Minnesota. So. And these are NASA.gov in military documents that, in the highlighted part, basically say that when they make their models and they use aircraft and stuff, that they're flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. And so you can perceive that as however you want. You know, a lot of that is, you know, cognitive dissonance for a lot of people, because then they try to say, well, that's them just saying it's the easiest way to come up with their maths and things like that by assuming it's flat. But then then somehow they change it to then convert to a globe, and that doesn't make any sense. Why would you start on a foundation on one thing and then end on another if you're going to use it in this type of serious form, like flying an airplane? So,
Did you make these?
a friend of mine sent them to me, but yeah, we've been talking about this stuff for a while. Sometimes this is, you know, scripture, you know, in my opinion, scripture that people need because it's got a .gov, you know, by it. And then I show them this, and then again, it goes back to the cognitive dissonance. They're just like, but this is probably saying that, or this is probably saying that, you know, and it's like, okay, well, obviously, nothing I give you is going to be good enough.
Oh, that makes sense.
So,
That makes sense.
and then they just carry on, and then I sit here, you know, so it's not like I'm losing sleep over it, you know.
You are losing sleep?
No, I said it's not like I'm losing sleep over it.
What Oh, thank you. You can turn back the camera. I do appreciate
Oh, sure.
it.
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. Oh no, it's so interesting. Why do this?
It's engaging. It's fun.
Yeah.
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 I've got 2,000 hours of Call of Duty 4, 7 years worth, GTA 6, video games, movies, porn, sports, girlfriends, friends, travel. I'm 40. So, I mean, eventually you just get to a point of, like, where things just matter. You know, what actually can you pinpoint your life onto that matters? You know, and what is for the greater good? And in my opinion, we've skirted so far away from where we actually come from that now we're on a spinning globe around a sun in a universe that's continually moving all the time. And of course you're not going to know what your left hand is doing and your right hand is doing, because you're not stationary and firm. You think that you're moving in such a speed and a facet of where are we going then? Where are we going if we're here? Right? So what's the plan? Stan? What's the direction? Where's the GPS at? But for me, I find comfort in just knowing that we're just right here. And so I'm firm and stationary and where I feel the most convicted about where we live, that the sun is moving, there's no asteroids going to hit us, nobody died billions of years ago from an asteroid, nothing like that. That's just all fear and propaganda by the establishment, and which is really the enemy.
What does the establishment get out of this specific lie?
Control, mostly. Fear, the ability to steer the ship the way they want to, using fear as its propaganda.
But why the wood Earth?
Globers?
Yeah, why that one?
You believe in aliens from outer space?
Probably, yeah.
So what if it's just more land over here that we just don't know about, or they're not telling us, or they're underground, they're an ancient civilization? So many more explanations than aliens from Mars. And it seems more reasonable and rational as a human being when I really get down to it.
So in the infinite schema, do you believe in Antarctica?
I mean, they say that there's an ice shelf that may be, something that we need to traverse over or go through or, go under.
Oh, interesting. You think we're surrounded by like a ring of ice?
I've never seen it before.
Okay.
I think that there are ice shelves out there, but then when they take a picture of an ice shelf and then they say that's Antarctica, I'm not obligated to believe that.
Got it.
And a lot of flat earthers do. Good for them.
Sure.
But it's kind of counterproductive, don't you think? You're believing pictures online that say it's Antarctica ice shelf, and then you go around and tell everybody that's the ice shelf. Sure. It's holding all the water in, and it's like, but you haven't done that, and you're going to believe those pictures, but then not believe the pictures that the government says Earth is space. Right? So, I mean, there's no consistency with a lot of flat earthers, too. So
that makes sense. So then, why haven't we explored further than like Australia or South America?
That's why they have the Antarctic Treaty.
What's the Antarctic Treaty?
1957, 58 it was put in place, and after a guy, military, take it for what it's worth, was on TV and said something to the effect of that there's more land and resources if we continue to traverse south to Antarctica, because there's a giant ring around us and there's more resources. And so when he came back, he wanted to do another expedition out there. He all of a sudden just ends up dying. They shut it down, and then they created NASA and the Antarctic Treaty, and 50 countries signed on right away. And it's not up for appeal until 2040. So you can't independently, like you on your bike, you can go wherever you want, right? You're in America. And you can't do that when in regards to Antarctica, because they've basically turned it into a Yellowstone. It's like a national park. You can only go there in certain areas, spend $15,000 to $30,000 per person to be escorted around in a velvet rope-like experience, and you don't get to take your skidoo anywhere and venture off into the darkness. So there's just a lot of interesting perspectives about that, but I do feel like it goes on infinitely forever. We're just having to go explore it, because we as human beings have to see things for them to exist. It's like the double slit experiment idea. So, but for me,
Go ahead.
to be honest, I'd rather go to the North Pole.
Why?
Mount Meru,
Mount Meru.
the giant tree they chopped down.
What giant tree did they chop down?
It's in many legends. They even may have made a movie about it called Avatar. You didn't see Avatar?
I'm like the one person.
Okay, it might be the one person that didn't see it.
I know.
Yeah, but it's about transferring consciousness into an avatar, like human beings. We're an avatar, basically, if you really, want to be, serious about the conversation. But then you'd probably push off a lot of Catholics and Baptists by saying something like that. But it has that concept, and then they have trees everywhere in this movie. And so human beings transfer their consciousness into another avatar that is basically a golem or a Frankenstein for them to be put into, so then they can walk amongst the other, whatever their names are. It starts with an N or something like that. And James Cameron actually had to develop his own speech software so he could make a new language, basically, for the movie. And it talks about a lot of trees and the connectedness to trees that we should have. I'm earthing. I don't have my socks on. We should be connected to the ground that we walk on and things like that. And just really, that tree right there in front of us. I mean, golly, how long that guy been there?
The big one?
Yeah,
80 years?
Yeah, probably. So yeah, that's what I have there. So, but. I think that we just have to go out and discover these things, and I think that the North Pole is a place that they're trying to distract us from and use Antarctica for flat earthers and be like, oh, all flat earthers want to go to Antarctica, that's the big talker. And I always hear that from even people, no offense, like yourself, they always say, well, what's out here if we keep going here? And it's like, why does nobody go here, right? Why does nobody think about going to the center of the pizza? No, nobody flies over the North Pole. There are no flights that go there. Obviously, the quickest way between 2 points is a straight line. You just do this. When I went to Thailand, I just went from here to Japan to LAX, right like that. Just a straight shot. When you look at...
Are there no flights from here? I guess what if you go from here to, like, freaking India?
Yeah, it's all non-stop. From Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia is this. Sydney, Australia, LAX or Chicago, and then Santiago, Chile.
There's nobody fly like this way?
No, you don't.
I mean, you don't.
No commercial. No, Delta, American Airlines doesn't do that. I mean, that's the thing, is I think a lot of people haven't been able to... Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. I was just kind of taking a quick look.
Yeah, sure. Okay, take a quick look.
Did you bring your own chair?
Huh?
Did you bring that?
I did, yeah. It's just...
Oh, you didn't, like, haul it to the park?
No.
I was like,
It's the park.
You hauled it down.
So, that's one thing that's nice about being here, is you can grab these chairs.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's the number 6 chair. Uh-oh. You ever look into 369?
No.
Check it out. You know who Tesla is? Nikola Tesla?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had an interesting idea about the numbers 369.
Are you going to, like, give me, like, a spark?
I mean, I don't know if I should, because it's actually quite an interesting study. But it just basically talks about synchronicities and things like that.
Okay.
Maybe fractal type stuff, even more so. You know what fractals are and things like that? Yeah. And so that's what thought is. Thought is a fractal. And the only way that you can, in my opinion, get out into an infinite fractal in your mind is by getting out of this, the bondage of the globe Earth. Because there's only so much land and water on Earth that they tell us, right?
Sure.
Even if you were to argue that you can drill 8 miles into it, all around, and then take 8 miles of that, right? And then you can make anything you want out of that. Dig under, dig in tunnels, make other cities and stuff like that. Still, even if we were allowed to have that and multiply humanity in such a way where everywhere on Earth that's capable of having landmass, we dig into it and then build cities into it that have a diameter of up and down from the floor to the ceiling of maybe 6 or 7 miles, because you can't have too much space in between the upper level, right?
Got it.
You got to have enough, so it doesn't collapse in on itself,
Sure.
right? But then keep doing that all around Earth. Eventually, you're going to run out of space
Here.
on the globe Earth. Yeah. So I just try to challenge people to get out of that bondage, the prison planet, and then just explore the thought of Earth being infinite and outer space not existing.
Why, do you mind this question?
No.
Thanks for asking. Why infinite? Like, why does... I get, like, flat. Why also infinite?
Our Creator's infinite. We're just -1. So we're infinity -1.
Okay.
So why not? If He has it available for us and it's out there, and the idea of ice shelf and ice caps and things of that nature are just keeping us away from going further south, then there's no Best Buys in Antarctica. There's no Caribou Coffees. Why would you even want to go down there, right? There's not very many explorers. Nobody wants to explore anything anymore. They think everything's been found, right? And now we just got to go up. Now we have all of our prophets to do that for us, like Elon Musk and Bezos and so on, right? But they'll never go anywhere because outer space is scientifically impossible. It's just a show. Not real.
What do you mean?
So you need, how would I get into this bottle of air or water?
Unscrew the cap.
Okay, so I would have to allow the exterior air to come in by doing that, right?
Yeah.
But now there's a pressure in it,
Right.
right? So if the air exterior of the plastic is a pressure and the air inside is a different pressure, and I don't want to disrupt the pressure inside the bottle, how do I get into the bottle?
I'm trying to follow. Why don't you want to disrupt the pressure inside the bottle?
Because it's outer space. If we disrupt the
Which one's outer
pressure,
space?
either one, whichever you want to pick.
Inside or outside?
Well, we're inside.
So we're inside, outer space is outside.
Yeah.
And the question is,
How do we get out into outer space without disrupting the plastic?
why can't you disrupt the plastic?
It's obvious. You don't
Honestly,
want to disrupt the pressure. You don't want to have the exterior air come in because it's negative pressure. And if you have negative pressure come inside, you're all going to suffocate. So how do you get outside of here without disturbing the plastic barrier?
So is the question, how could the plastic exist?
I'll believe outer space exists if you can make the plastic not exist, but then the water and the pressure around the bottle stay exactly where they are right now. And then I'll believe outer space is real, because that's what they teach us in high school
So
and
in
junior
this
high.
metaphor, the bottle is like the atmosphere, they say.
Yeah,
Right, okay. Makes sense.
yeah. See how they tricked us? And then guess what they say?
What is this?
The magic G word.
What's the next one? Gravity?
Yeah, I don't know. I might get censored for that word. But yeah, so they say gravity.
Okay.
Somehow, sometimes gravity makes things stick to something, and then other times the gravity is such where things float around and are repelled. So it seems like a woman created this theory because it can't make up its mind. And it just seems illogical because there's no natural reoccurring phenomenon of that. There's no vacuum. There's no, like, you know how they tell us there's black holes and stuff in outer space, right? Well, there's no black holes in nature, in the air, like a wormhole that you can step through, you know, and whoop, where'd it go, you know? You can look at whirlpools, you know, there's whirlpools that develop in water that literally suck people down and they disappear.
Okay.
Into a cavale, you know, that's in the earth and whatever, and it's just continually cycling, right? But there's nothing that anybody can show me that's a natural reoccurring phenomenon of a vacuum, uncontained in nature, to then, you know, help me believe outer space is real.
I think I follow.
Yeah, but whether you agree with it or not, that's up to you. Walk away, give it a night, or, you know, sleep on it or whatever, and then ponder it. But for me, as I've tarried down this path, there's no way somebody could convince me with outer space being real. I would be afraid to take a rocket up and hit something and then explode. You know, that would be my fear.
Where do you think astronauts go?
They just do a parabolic flight and do this, and then right back into the ocean. The ISS,
So there's an amount up. You think they break? How far up do you think they go?
70,000 feet.
How high is that?
10
How
miles.
high does a commercial airline
12
go?
miles. 7 miles.
Is that how high a commercial airliner goes?
A commercial airliner goes 7 miles, and they go double that. So 14 miles, 15 miles.
At what point did they say outer space begin?
62 miles, the Kármán line.
Kármán line? What's that?
Yeah. Something that international space has developed, but America and NASA claim that their border is 50 miles. And that's how, what's his face? Was it one of those two said that they did that, and then the other one said, oh, I hit the Kármán line, so I really went to space. You know, so it was like this pointless clash of people that aren't going to help you pay your bills, you know. So, but the idea is basically to just remind everybody, hey, we're still working on something. Get ready, you know. But you know what's going on is technology isn't so good that we wouldn't be able to discern whether it's fake or not.
Technology isn't so good that we wouldn't be able. So technology is good enough that we are able to discern.
Yes, we can fake it. Because it looks so real, it has to be fake. You know? So we know when it's fake, and there's no way they could actually do it because they can't. So that's the conundrum. They can't actually do it, so they'll have to fake it. But we're so good with our video software, flat earthers, people with video software, or even just normies who want to try to be like, there's no way this is fake, and then they run it through their process, and then we compare notes, and then we'll deal with it then. But the technology isn't. The technology for us is getting better, because then we can filter it through things that exist, right? And we know what they use because it has to be classified. If they want to actually say that they're doing something, they can't just hide that information, because if they hide it, then even normies are going to wake up to, like, hey, why are you not showing us what you took with, the ISS or whatever, right? Yeah. And so people will say, hey, well, the 1972 photograph of Earth from space is real. Look, here's the camera specs. Look, I mean, gosh, how come you can't get it, right? And it's like, okay, you're really good at hyper-realistic paintings. And I've looked at your stuff for years, and you're just like so on point. You're the best. I can't tell the difference between a real photograph and your paintings. Sure. Okay? Now I want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and I want you to make this what looks like Earth that's flat, scanned on this map, and I want you to make it into a ball. And I'll pay you so-and-so a bunch of money. Sure. And then I'll have another guy who's a great photographer, loves taking pictures, loved his stuff for years and years and years. He's got the best camera and the best filters. And I'm going to have him take a picture of your painting. Now, am I lying that I just took a photograph of Earth from space?
Yes.
No, I'm not. Because I told you to make a photograph of Earth from space. What does Earth from space look like to you? Here's the scanned flat print, make it into a ball, and you show me what Earth from space looks like. And then you do it. You have the black, and then you have the ball, just like that. And I have a guy take a photograph with a camera on Earth of Earth from space.
I thought it was a photograph of a painting.
Yeah, but it's a photograph of Earth from space, which is a painting. I'm not lying, because I had you take a picture of Earth from space.
Yeah.
But then to play it off, and then give it to NASA, and then teach children in their books and say that that's Earth from space, then what is that?
What is that?
Well, that's a massive deception. That is a massive deception. And the only way that you can get away with massive deceptions is when you teach it to people. And you say it over and over again, and you put it on the TV, and it's the thing that they wake up to, and then the thing that they go to sleep to. And then throughout the day, they think that the whole day. So now everybody thinks COVID is happening on a globe Earth. Right? So now they're getting even further and tearing further away from who we once were thousands of years ago before this place got subverted. You know?
Do you think there's like an era at which that happened?
I think that this has been going on for thousands of years. Flat Earth, globe Earth. And I think we've been reset. You look into mud floods. Mud floods is a really great topic, because it kind of shows some evidence that we may every 200, 300, 400 years get completely reset and they start over. There's a topic called the foundlings, where it's documented in the 1890s that they took children from one area to another by the hundreds of thousands on train cars and repopulated an area.
Sorry, when was this?
In the late 1800s.
Okay.
Called the foundlings. So the concept now would be, hey, you're a non-vaxxed parent and your child is sick, or you got them sick then, right? So we need to take your child away from your hands, because obviously you're totally incapable of taking care of your child because you don't want to get vaccinated. So then they take all the kids that aren't vaxxed yet because they're too young and that hasn't gone through yet. Then they take all the kids who are before the age of which they are allowed to get vaxxed, and then they put them on train cars and they take them away.
Do you think that's happening? Or
I think that could happen. I think it's a possibility. You know, what are people willing to fight? What are willing for people to drop their life for?
Sure.
You know? And if recently as today, they basically said that if you disagree or you go along with certain narratives that aren't conforming to CNBC, CNN, Fox News, then you're a terrorist. Literally said that, terrorist, you're a terrorist. On the news. Anti-vaxxers, non-vaxxers, people who don't wear a mask, 9/11 deniers. Coincidentally enough, what's happening in 3 weeks, you know, so It's kind of, everything has come full circle. So there's nothing new under the sun.
Except the Earth.
Except the Earth. The Earth will always be,
Not a
it will always be flat and just there for us. And
Why
then
did you go to Thailand?
we're the ones that make the stories up. In 2015,
Was there a reason?
I taught English there.
It was like a year program?
Yeah, it was as long as I wanted to go.
How was that?
It was fantastic.
Yeah?
It was just the most unbelievable experience.
Huh. I thought about doing that, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious about your experience. Where were you teaching?
In Bangkok, a suburb of Bangkok called Bangkapi.
Okay.
They have a 7-story mall.
We have lots of big malls in
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have malls there that are bigger than the Mall of America. And it's like, we think the Mall of America is... And there, it's like they have malls everywhere. They're connected to other street vendors, and like it's just like you could literally walk through a mall for a whole day and just get to know people, or try new foods out, which is great. Learning the language, man, don't go there now. I wouldn't go there now. You have to wear a mask everywhere you go out in public, even in your car when you're alone. The only time that you don't have to wear a mask is when you're in your house. And even then, the government said that they wanted to make people wear a mask while they're in their homes. But then finally realized that, you know what, there would be too much if we tried to get people to do that. It would just cause too much of a problem. So they're compromised with this. But, Asians, love them, but they're the most docile, brainwashed society on earth right now. Next to Indians,
Oh, why Indians?
Yeah. They just more propaganda, more fear, more false god worship. They really trust in the medical system and things like that. They're very Western culture medicine. That's why a lot of Indian people come to Minnesota. Minnesota has premier doctor medical system here in Minneapolis. So a lot of Muslim people are starting to come into the workforce too, so they're getting into it. So the Muslim country, they'll go into Western medicine like down here in Minneapolis, but they're not going to get the jab because they're more conservative than more Christians are here in America. So it's really kind of ironic where Christians could learn a lot from Muslims in terms of like what they'll accept and what they won't accept. And as a culture, I've come across a lot of them in Bidemakoska, and most of them aren't vaxxed. The younger children want to get vaxxed. Like they have started to develop this like weird thing about America where they feel like they got to be a part of something. And in my opinion, I feel like that's what's great about America is this choice aspect of us here. And I feel like that type of ideology is starting to be challenged a lot. And it goes away when people comply, so you have to continually fight for your ability to not become Bangkok, China, or Bangkok, Thailand. And I remember just walking down the streets and just, mango and sticky rice, 75 cents. So good. The food is so good there, and it's so cheap. And I don't worry about anything. I know that a lot of Western people won't eat at the street vendors and stuff like that. They'd rather go into a restaurant or something like that. And by all means, you can go to a sushi store. You go to Lund's or whatever, and you want to buy sushi. It's like $10 or $15. You can get twice that amount for half the price in some of these like mock Japan sushi joints, which are fabulous because they're getting fresh fish all the time. So I mean, yeah, it's like this catch-22. Great food, great, people, really awesome. You experience the first and third world within 20-mile radius of each other, and my whole experience of it was when I came back, I literally got rid of 70 to 80% of my belongings because I was so convicted about how these people are able to live with very little, So,
Then what did you do when you got back?
and then I just started to think about what my purpose was and what I was here to do, and why, what is it, And then in late 2015, a couple months after I got back, I came across Flat Earth.
How did you come across it?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. and the idea, Eric Dubé's 200 proofs Earth is not a spinning ball. And then it just helped me understand like water mechanics, you know, when it's, you know, at rest, all liquid will find its, you know, border and stop flowing, level off, and when it's at rest, it lays level and flat. And so the only way that us human beings are able to basically challenge our own intuition about how things really are here is using something we were taught in school called gravity. You know, and we've become so accustomed to that feeling of that, knowing these things, and then you come across somebody like me, and I challenge you with that, and there becomes this clash of inside your human body. You know that your equilibrium, when you're not feeling well, is off, and you can't stand, and you're dizzy, or you drank too much, and your ears are off, you know, and you got to just like sit down and just like put your hand on something so you can stop spinning, right? And so for me, I guess that just leads into many things. It just seems really illogical to think that we live on something that I can't verify. But I gave you my 2 proofs of why I think Earth is flat. And those are things that I don't have to use the sky or somebody else's reasons. So.
Cool. Well, Josh, I gotta get going actually.
Yeah, man.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for being out here.
Yeah, thanks.
Engaging. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, what's your name again?
Gabriel?
Gabriel.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you around.
Yeah, man. Take
Have a
care.
good day.
Yeah, you too. Watch out for these cars, man.